Hi, and welcome to the first in a series of video training modules designed to help you quickly understand how to use the new Advanced Scheduling program. The Advanced Scheduling program is actually very intuitive to use, but it's always valuable to get a broad overview of a product and learn some tips and tricks in order to take full advantage of all its features. The purpose of Technosoft's Advanced Scheduling program is to enable service management staff to plan, organize, schedule, forecast, and monitor workloads for employees, equipment, and subcontractor resources. Advanced Scheduler can assist with mapping and routing functions as well. There are also viewing of customer details, checking equipment details, checking agreement status, determining who is available at the requested time, determining if an employee has the right skill set for the job and is in the area, create a new job or schedule an appointment for an existing job, reschedule appointments, and instantly dispatch jobs to mobile devices by simply dragging and dropping entries. Monitor the progress of jobs real time as engineers, technicians complete work, or change the status of the job, book time to the job, or write notes or complete tasks and activities as applicable. Advanced Scheduler is really an integrated control center for your business. There are three main pivot views called Calendar, Job List, and Resource Schedule. There is also a Job Query view, and there's a routing function. This video is going to discuss the general user interface and how to navigate around the screen. Like most Windows programs, Advanced Scheduling provides a combined menu toolbar system for accessing the various features of the application. Toolbar icons and menus will hide if not applicable to the view you are using. The File menu. The File menu contains all the options available in a traditional pull-down menu style. These options can be activated directly by choosing one of the many desktop icons. To create a new job, we can simply select New Job. We can use Quick Document Entry to create a new job, or we can use the Document Search function to create a new job. We can open an existing time entry or even open the fault analyzer from the File menu. There are many print options, from daily appointment listings, work order, job cards, to printing, routing, directions, and map. These options are grayed out because I'm currently not selected on an appointment. We have a print setup option, and we can synchronize from Outlook. Most of these functions are available as icons on the desktop as well, and so the File menu allows you to access those if the icons are not visible. The Edit menu. From the Edit menu, again, you can add an appointment, you can start a recording, you can view information in the resource schedule or in the job list view, so that will pivot your view from the calendar view to the job list view or the resource schedule view. These functions are mainly used, again, as I said, because sometimes icons are hidden and depending on the resolution of your screen, and these allow you to get to those functions at all times. The View menu determines what to display on screen. You can see here we have a current view being the calendar, and we can switch quickly between views. There are soft keyboard strokes as well that you can use to quickly navigate, so Control 1 would take you back to calendar. There are colouring options. You can colour by agreement plan, customer, job, job type, priority, status, zone, or have no colouring. As you can see on the screen behind me, there's quite a bit of colouring, and we're currently set to priority. We'll talk more about that in a later video. There's the navigation pane. We can change the size of that. The navigation pane is this pane here. And we can go to today quickly. We can select a period. If you want to look at different years, you can select a different period, previous month, previous week, previous day, etc. To quickly move to a day or work week or week, month or timeline view, we can use these options. The important option in this menu, however, is the Other Windows option. We have docking panes in the product, and those docking panes can be turned on or off. If they're turned off, this is where you go to turn them back on. So for example, you can see here over on the right we have a docking pane called the resource filter. If I was to close that docking pane by using the X and closing the pane here, that pane has now disappeared, and I cannot recover it without going to the other Windows view, and in this case it's the resource filter, and selecting the resource filter. That will recover the resource view. And you can see here it's pinned, so to unpin that we simply turn that off. When we click away it will hide and it has recovered our resource view. So if you do accidentally shut down a view, the quickest way to get a view back onto screen is select View, Other Windows, and just check on the window that you've shut down. The Tools menu. In the Tools menu we have the Options table where all your default settings are kept. These options are user specific. To copy options from one user to another, there is information that I'll discuss with you a little bit later on the help screen on how to do that. So without further ado, I'm going to just discuss the Options table. Okay, there are several tabs here: General, Calendar, Gantt, Labels, Data, List Setup, Appointment Colouring, and File Locations. You can set the style of your display for Office 2003, 2007, the current display, or 2010. That will change the format of the screen you're viewing in the background. We can have small buttons, as you can see here, or you can select a ribbon style, like the Microsoft ribbon style that we now see in Office products 2010. We have a general colour for deactivated sites. To change your colour, you simply click on it and select a different colour. There's tooltip hovering. Now we have a hover delay and a hover duration. This is quite an important feature, so let me just, we'll close out of here and we'll come back. When you hover over an appointment, a tooltip appears. There's a hover delay in appearing, so we've allowed, I think it was a second there, and we've got a 15-second appearance there. So you can vary the time that hover appears. We've got a 1-second delay and a hover duration of 15 seconds. I don't recommend setting that to hover delay to 0 because it gets annoying when you're moving around the screen. The mouse will bring up the hover every time you click or go over an object. Viewing the status bar. The status bar is down the bottom here. Maximum recent documents, 10 recent documents. You can also put in a startup map location. So if I was to type in there a location such as Los Angeles, California, my map location would start in California. I leave it blank normally because wherever your routing functions or the addresses for your sites are, it will move to those addresses in any case. You can also have a zoom level for your routing, which will increase the zoom as you default, so it takes you into a closer zoom. There's a distance. Depending on which country you come from, you might use miles or kilometers that you can set. We use Bing Maps for our routing, so Bing Maps will display miles or kilometers as applicable. There's a time entry default estimate duration. When you draw an appointment, it will default to 30 minutes. Time entry estimated minimum duration, you can have a minimum duration set there, and you can have an actual minimum duration also, so that when you create an actual, the duration is set to a minimum of 30 minutes. On the desktop, which is not being covered in this session, there's an option in the options table to prevent, warn, or allow time entry conflicts. I've set this to warn so that when I draw a time entry, if I conflict with another time entry, it will bring up a warning message to advise that there's a conflict. If that was set to ignore, then it would allow me to do the time entry conflict and wouldn't bring up the message. And if it's set to no conflicts, then we won't be allowed to draw a time entry that conflicts with another time entry. You can't change this field. It's coming from the setting in your options table on the desktop for ServiceManager. Now, we have several options here. Prohibit scheduling out of phase boundaries. I've set again this to warning. So if I draw a time entry outside a phase boundary, it will warn me. This will allow me to do it, but it will warn me. Show conflicts in the notification list. I've set that to no. That can be annoying, particularly if you're allowing conflicts, because the notification list, which is down here on the bottom left corner, will pop up with all the conflicts that you create, so I normally set that to no. However, if you do want that on, that's quite legitimate, and any conflict created will be listed in your notification list. They're the main ones to be concerned about. On the calendar view, we've got the start time up slot, last used, so it'll remember your last used time up slot, or you can start up every time. I like to set that to 60 minutes and have a 1 hour view when I start up. Now, include resource names in the calendar appointments. I just move the screen down a bit. You can see here that we've got a resource for Andrea. Andrea's name is not included in the calendar appointment here. We've got the customer details, which we'll look at shortly. And if you would like Andrea's name to be included in the appointment details, you can do that. Your hover will display her name anyway, but as you're in that column, it's quite obvious which employee it is that you're looking at. And to save space so that where it's only a small entry like these ones here, which are 1 hour, and you probably want to know the customer name or a job number, you can minimize that. So we recommend having include resource names off as a default. And you can hide non-service center specific resources. So if a resource is not allocated to a service center, they can be hidden. You can see the calendar styling. You can modify text color, background color, and border color. I do recommend that you stay with the default options. There's been quite a bit of research done into the default coloring, and unless there's some reason to change that, we recommend you stay with it. Let's look at the Gantt tab. So again, there's chart styling options. You can see the chart background color, the time interval line color, and the time entry drag boundary color. Now, what I'll do here is let's go over. It's a bit hard to describe these because I haven't got a dual screen monitor set here, but if I go to the job list view, you can see here these lines here are the ones we were just talking about, and you can change the colors in the job list view from the options table. So the Gantt row guidelines, which are the horizontal lines which we would see if we clicked on a resource, are blue. You can change the guideline style from a line to a bar to no line. And you can show the current timeline color. We've got that set to red. You can change the thickness if you want to make the line a bit thicker so it's easier to see on screen, and you can change the opacity of that line. You can also modify the row heights and any scheme's classic pastel or project. So I might, you can see here the job phase, the job color, the phase color, and resource coloring. So let's just bring up a job very quickly. I'll use the finder here. I'll just bring up a standard job. And you can see when I click on a resource, the line's blue. You can see the time it is now. It's 1 mil thick. If you want to make that thicker, you can make that thicker. And you can see the distance between these bars. If you want to increase that distance, you can. Notice also when I bring up the job, you can see the phase. The job is the green color. The phase is the light green color. And notice the time entries. We'll bring up a couple of time entries. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just draw one in quickly. And you'll notice the time entry is white as per the colouring scheme. So all those colour schemes can be changed as applicable. Now you can highlight related time entries in the job list view and the resource schedule. So if I had two people on the same job, they would be highlighted in a green colour. Same thing in the resource schedule. If two people are on the same job, or more than two people, as many people as you like, they'll all highlight in the same colour. So when you click on one resource, all the other resources that are on the same job will highlight in green, and that's a recommended default option. Confirmation options. On assignment, auto-create a time entry using a phase estimate. I've set that to ask. So what happens is if the phase, let's say in this example, was that long, when I create a new appointment, it will automatically create the time entry to the same length as the phase. So I've set that to ask, so I'll get a message asking me if I want to do that, and I can say no to that or yes to that. That can be handy if you're just wanting the time entry to be the same as the estimate for the time it's going to take to complete the job. Now we can zoom to job span by phase, by time entry, or the entire span. And I've set that to phase, so wherever the phase is in the job, if I zoom to that job, and I actually did that a moment ago where we brought the job up onto screen, it zoomed to the phase span. Now, some jobs could carry over several months, and that might load an inordinate amount of data. So we set the default to 7 days, and if your job span is greater than 7 days, then you'll get a warning to indicate that it may take a little time to load that job. You also have snap options, and when you're drawing an entry, it will snap to the nearest 5 minutes or to the nearest 10 minutes. Now we have labels, and if I come back, let's just close out of here for a moment. And let's go back to our calendar view. And you can see when I do the hover, I've got labels appearing here, and there's a lot of information, and we can customize that information. That's where the labels come from. Now, to select a label, simply click on it and include it in your list, and that will appear in the label list. Also down here, we can determine the what appears in the appointment itself. So you can see I've got the site name first, then the document number, and a description, and then the site address. So you can simply drag a field down. So if you drag the contact phone down there, the contact phone would now appear in that order in the label. You can type text prior to the label if you wanted to as well, and you can move obviously these labels around, and that can be very handy if your company requires certain types of information to appear in the hover over. Data labels. Now, time entries are loaded automatically when they're changed. That is, it's a recommended setting. If you have SQL and you have direct database access, you may wish to use that. We don't recommend that because it requires security authentication. Auto refresh is set to 5 minutes, so every 5 minutes your screen will auto refresh. It may refresh actually earlier than that if a change has been made in the background by another user. Advanced scheduling is fully multi-user capable, so if someone else is making a change, you will see that change in the background when it's made. Sometimes you won't see it immediately, obviously because the refresh period is set to 5 minutes. So if you click an entry that's been deleted or an entry that's been moved or changed, rescheduled, let's say, it will disappear and move to the location where it was moved to or deleted from, and that would be automatic as soon as you click on it. After refresh, that would happen anyway. Now there's a go button in the calendar. You can see up here these go buttons. You can set that to automatic so that when you actually choose a selection, like over here on the left, you can see in the navigation pane today. If I was to choose today and that was an automatic, it would load today immediately. If I select tomorrow, it loads tomorrow immediately. Again, I recommend that it be left to manual and that be processed, but for some applications and for some people that might be a valid option. Saving is instant. You can time your save, or you can save on idle timeout. So if your PC is left idle for more than 2 minutes, it will automatically save. However, again, we recommend, particularly in a multi-user environment, that saving be left to instant. That way any other user will immediately see changes made by another user. Now, in Job Query, the query view is over here, and we'll be covering that in a later video. There's an option here to clear the existing results before a new query, and you can ask. So what basically happens is if you did a query to show me all the jobs that have no assignments, and then did another query to show me all jobs that have purchase orders, do you want to combine and stack those queries, or do you want to remove the original query first and then only show the ones with purchase orders? So this will ask, because I've got it set to ask, and I can either replace or I can stack the query as accordingly. And obviously the other option is yes or no. Now, list setup. In the job list view, what we see is all our jobs listed in a list box view. So if I come out of here for a moment and go back to job list, and we'll just bring up a job again very quickly. And you can see here that we've got column headers, and those are the column headers that we were looking at a moment ago. So you can add and customize the column headers that you see appearing here. Clicking a column header will sort a column header as well, so we'll talk about that in a later video. But let's go back to options, and I'll set that back to calendar before I do that. So the list set up there, the column headers that you're seeing, you can order your column headers by moving them up or down using the up and down arrows, and they're the column headers that we're currently seeing in the job list view. We can have appointment coloring. You can see agreements. Advanced scheduling will look at your plan database and lists all the plans that you have. To change a color, you simply double click on the color and you can set the color accordingly. So you can see here under agreement plan, we've got if the customer has no agreement, the coloring would appear with the hash symbols, and if they have agreements, depending on what they are, in a gold or platinum, you might have an orange or purple agreement. If we click on customer, the system will automatically color your customer by default. You won't be able to change those colors. There could be too many colors and it will automatically work out a color and give it some sort of principle that's different to another. Same with job types. The number of jobs in the system will automatically work out how many jobs you have in the system and color each one. Job type, you can see I've got a few different job types set, and we can set the color on each of those job types. Same with priority, so priority 1 jobs are red and we can see those in the background. Priority 3 jobs are yellow. Priority 5 jobs are the grey ones you can see just in the background. We can color by status. There are 15 statuses that you can color, and we can color by zone. Now, zones are set up in class types on the desktop, and zones could be configured to be suburbs or postcodes. And non-job related entries, such as notations, they can be colored anyway as well, and you can see here we've got the red hashing. And lastly, file location. There is a spell checker when you're writing notes for time entries, and you can add spelling to your dictionary as well. You can add words to your dictionary that may not be spelt correctly, or nouns that are not common, and they're kept in your user dictionary, which is kept in your location as advised here. So that's your options table. I recommend that you leave all your options as default until you get a feel for what they do. The ones that you might look at changing are your time entry default durations. You might look at how you prohibit whether you want to warn or not, and show conflicts in the notation list. I'd say no to that. Let's go to calendar. I recommend leaving the resource name off in the calendar appointments, but some people will want to see that. You can turn that back on. Gantt coloring I don't normally touch. I do leave these two on. I like to see highlighted related entries, and they're important. Now this is where you will do most of your customizing and options depending on what you want to see in your appointments. You may decide different information, and so therefore these are the hover. That's the information you're seeing in the hover, and that's the information you're seeing by default in an appointment. And you can add to both of those if you wish. Nothing much to change on this form. I would leave that as default. We can see our list. This is an area where you would come and customize your columns in your job list view, and you would customize your coloring if you want to change your coloring. I'd customize that. Your file location for dictionary, well, you could reset that file location, but I recommend it be left in the default location. Let's close out of there. We have a snapping function, as we saw earlier. In the options, you'll only see here what you select in options. So if I go back to options just very quickly, I'll find it again. There it is there. And you can see the options I'm here allowing for snapping. They will appear when as an option in my drop-down list here. Then we have an appointment summary. It provides job statistics across the system. So we look at that and we run a list. We can get job statistics across systems. I've got all jobs or just this week's jobs, and I can see information about how many jobs per day, appointments and resources per day. And lastly, in the file menu, we have the help about. And help about will give you information, product information. Most important, if you've got a query and you're emailing us, it's always important to show us the version you're on, the product update you're on, and the build number you're on. The date's not so critical, just the build number. So version 608, product update 1, build 4 in this example. Advanced scheduling has a different versioning, and you can see here it's 20154 in this particular version. It's important to send that as well, and that way we know what your desktop version is, we know what your advanced scheduling version is. And lastly, up on the file menu, we have file locations. So this tells you your ACPAC programs folder, you save document query file. So when you're doing a query here and you're saving, your TQS file is saved in this directory. Your license file, where that's located in your ACPAC shared data directory. And we have advanced scheduling file, and this is where your configuration file is located. Now your configuration file will be updated with every build. So therefore a user profile will be carried out each time you do a new build. Now the reason for that is because we can change menu options, and if we do that, your user.config file will be deprecated in order to bring in the new file. Okay, next thing to talk about is toolbars. Like most Windows toolbars, to move a toolbar to a different location, you focus your cursor on the grab handle. The grab handle is referred to there where you see these 4 dots. If you want to move one of those, you can simply grab it with your left bar and move it to the location that you desire. You can create custom toolbars as well. To do that, on a blank area of the toolbar, bring up options, so right click and customize. Select new. Give the toolbar a name, a location. So you might want the toolbar to be docked on the bottom, top. Select OK. On the Commands tab, you can then drag a command that you want on the toolbar. So you can see here I've created a new toolbar, and if I want to drag a command, such as a file menu, maybe a save command, I can drag that out and place it on my toolbar. Right, to delete the toolbar, just go back into Custom, click on the toolbar and delete it, and you can remove the toolbar. It's a very handy option. You may have some users that you want to protect from seeing all the options that are available to you, and you can create your own toolbars, remove most of the toolbars, and have just specific toolbars for your usage. The next area to talk about are panes, or docs as they're sometimes called. So the different sections on the screens are called panes. So we have a pane here called the navigation pane, and you'll see if I minimize that, notice it's called the navigation pane, and I can expand that again. Now, panes can also contain docs, and these can be set to automatically hide when a pane is selected in order to gain additional screen real estate. Alternatively, they can be pinned or locked so the information they contain remains on screen permanently. So over here on the right, we have appointment colouring. If I want to lock that, I simply pin it by clicking the pin. And now, even when I click away, it won't hide. If I unpin that, watch what happens when I click away. It hides and gives us more screen real estate, as I said. Docs can be moved to different positions on the desktop. To do that, you first pin the doc. So if I wanted to move the skills to a different position, I can pin that. And then I can drag the doc, and you can drag it to wherever you want to pin it. So you can see this bottom arrow here. If I want to pin it down there, I can drag it. It's now pinned on the bottom doc, and if I move that away, and we'll click away, you can see I've got skills pinned on the bottom doc, and I can see them down there. Let's pin it up here again. And if I pin it away now, you'll see we've got our skills pinning over on the right side of screen. Now, previous to that, you can see up here resources and jobs. Notice when I move over, I hover between the two, we can pin two together. So to group two docs, open the two docs, and I had previously skills and work groups pinned. So you open the two docs and pin them. I'll open work groups and pin work groups. And you simply drag the two to the same pin that you wish to pin them to. And then when you close them, notice how they're grouped together. You can only group two panes together or two docs together, and that's the limit. Now we have some docs over here on the bottom side as well, so you can see when I click over here we get some docs, and you can increase your screen real estate by moving the screen around. If I move on to actuals, we can see our actuals or estimates. We can see our job information, and we can see our current selection. So if we're clicked on a time entry, it tells us information about that time entry. So if I click on Bargain Mart here, I look at the current selection, I get information about that selection, and I can email the customer. So if I wanted to quickly email the customer, I could do that by just clicking on there, or I could get a map by clicking over on the site address. So nice handy features when you want to quickly notify a customer that you might be delayed getting to site. So let's talk about all the docs individually. I'll come back to that one again. So the first doc we'll talk about is the colouring doc. So let's look at colouring. And you can see right now that I'm coloured by priority, and over here on the right of screen there's red, all these colours, grey, blue, yellow, etc. So priority 1 is red, orange is priority 2, yellow is priority 3, so forth. If we colour by agreement plan, remember we set those up in options, you'll notice now that those not on agreement are hashed. You can see the platinum agreements there as well on the screen right now. If we move to customer, all jobs will be coloured by customer, so the blue ones are all for bargain mart, and I can see if other people are working on the same job. I can move to job, and the system will go and colour all the jobs in the system accordingly, and give each job a colour, a unique colour. And we can see there anyone that's on the same job. You can quickly see that Andrea and admin are on that job together. So that can be a handy colouring function. We can colour by job type. Now you can see all the colours by job type, so the servicing of the air conditioning unit, warranty jobs, and we've got a blue maintenance job in the bottom left corner there. So they're handy. We saw colouring by priority already, so let's move on to status. So now we've got our jobs coloured by status. We can see the active jobs for those light pink jobs. We've got the grey jobs being pending, and so forth. And we might want to look at our jobs by zone, and we can see the jobs in the west zone are yellow, jobs in the north zone are grey. Now these colouring functions work across all different views, so if you pivot to the job list view or the resource schedule view, you'll still see your colouring. They are applicable across all views. I'll set that back to our standard view, which is our priority view. Okay, the next view we want to look at is skills, the next doc. So let's look at our skills doc. Now we've got lots of people on screen, and if we look, when we move away, you can see all our resources appearing. Now, if we hover over a resource, we get information about that resource as well. And there are three types of resources that we can work with in advanced scheduling. There are employee resources, which we're seeing on screen now. There are also equipment resources. You can see some equipment appearing there now. And there are contractor resources. So we can schedule employees, we can schedule our own internal equipment, and we can schedule contractors that are working for us. Now these people all have their own skills. In this example you can see that Clarence, if you look halfway down the screen, is an electrical certificate and engineer. Andrea has an electrical certificate and is Microsoft certified, and admin is electrical certificate and engineer. We look at skills, we can simply turn a skill on, and only those people with that skill will appear on screen. We can do an or, so if we want to see people with electrical or engineering, we'll see that. We'll cover that more in another topic on calendar itself. Now we have work groups, and we can look at the work groups doc. And if I want to see all the people in the service team, they'll list only the people in service team 2, and then I might start to schedule those people accordingly. We have the resources view, which we saw earlier, which shows us all our resources from employees to equipment to subcontractors. Now you can see admins appearing on screen over here. I can turn a resource on or off by clicking on them. And we have a job list view, so if you only want to see a particular job on screen, you might remove a job from screen, and that can do that. It works best in the job list view, but it will actually work on all views. However, it's a bit harder to see in the calendar view, depending on where that job is located. If it was right in front of your face and you turned it off, then you'd see it disappear. Now down the bottom we have what's called the notification list. If you had conflicts on, you would see that there. Or if you had an error from the program, maybe something has happened and you get an error from the program, that would appear down here. The other one is the estimates and actuals, so we can see all the estimate time entries and all the actual time entries. Now, when you draw an appointment, that's actually synonymous with time entry. So an appointment and time entry mean the same thing. And if we want to see your actuals against that time entry or your estimates against that time entry, you can simply click estimates or actuals. And we then have two that I like, which is a current selection and job equipment. So when we're clicked on a time entry, you can see here, as I come over that time entry, that's got an equipment there. If I click on another time entry, you can see the job there, and that shows the equipment on that particular appointment that we're working with. We can also see information about the user and current selection, and we can click the contact email to email or click site address to load a map in Bing Maps. So they're useful options as well. I tend to, myself, I like to move the job doc over to the right here and have it appearing. It's a bit easier to see, I find, and just makes the screen look a bit nicer, so I often do that. However, by default it's set up on the bottom, and what you can do is if you want to, you pin that there. So that's now pinned, and wherever you click you'll see any equipment relating to that job, which is a very handy view. And we'll talk more about that when we do the calendar training session. Now the navigation pane, which is this section here, is available in all views. So you can quickly pivot between the calendar, job query, job list by simply clicking on one of those panes. If we want to see today's jobs, we just simply click the Go button and that will launch today's jobs, tomorrow's jobs, and so forth. So the purpose of this video is really just to talk about the different areas of the screen that we're looking at, because they're common across all the views. It wasn't the purpose of this particular video to talk about calendar in specifically or job list. There's a separate video on each of the different pivot views. So thank you for joining me in the quick instructional view on how to use the different areas of the screen and how to customize those areas.